Hi everybody, Nicole here again. I just wanted to show you where my garden is at now that it's April. I haven't spoken to you since August, so I just wanted to show you what spring is going on for us here in South Carolina. So here in our front bed near the mailbox, we have our irises are in bloom. We already had our daffodils. So here we have some daylilies. We have some sedum, and there we have mums. It's taken 6-7 years to get a full row of irises, and then after we'll have our daylilies will burst out. So last summer, I planted eggplant here and jalapeno, and they did really well. And we also have some medicinals here, flowers. We have some echinacea, so we have these 3 right here. And I planted some sugar snap peas in the back to help add nitrogen to the ground. And I'm not sure if my chamomile is coming back, but we have marjoram. And then this is St. John's wort, and they are both very happy here. So I'm looking to harvest some St. John's wort and some marjoram. I've been putting the marjoram in the dehydrator. Here's our azaleas. And we have some grape hyacinth. I need to trim out some of these bushes that are coming back. We had a camellia tree here before, but it was dropping flowers onto the driveway. And we have another echinacea back there. So I'm looking to turn this more into a medicinal area. I just learned that I can put my fennel out here, and it does really well with echinacea. And so I'm looking also right here next to my azalea bush. We're looking to potentially add on to the garden space. And this is our space between our property and the neighbors, and so thinking to make it more medicinal and floral, and put in some rose bushes and put in some more echinacea because they really like it over here, and also to put in a rosemary bush. This, if you remember, if you watched my last video, and if you want you can go back and check and see, this was all flowers in here and herbs. Anyway, so I went in here, myself and my boys, we dug out the whole space. We took all the bulbs out, we replanted. So right here I have milkweed, and then we have irises, and we have daylilies. So in front, this is a lettuce mix that I got. So I put that out right next to our stakes here. I have some peas. So we'll see how we do. We got some Swiss chard and beets. And as you can see, I keep trimming it out and it keeps coming back, the wisteria right here. So I'm gonna have to keep trimming it out again. It's invasive. And we have pepper plants that I just planted yesterday. So we have a poblano and a jalapeno. And this is another milkweed. And this is a sedum. And so I made it kind of like a horseshoe. So this is what we have. Oh, our iris is already blooming. How exciting, because I just cut it, dug it up and replanted it. So that's really exciting to see. This right here growing near the bulbs is actually just weeds. There we have a sugar snap pea. So I need to get in here and put some cardboard down where I'm walking on the path to keep the grass from growing. We have some lettuce coming over here. Get a nice worm right there. So that's what we've got going on our wilderness section. So it's changed to a garden space. So I'm looking to see. So right here we have a poblano. Where is it? So little. There's our poblano. Now it's gonna get big. I'm gonna put a tomato cage around it just to help it as it grows up. And here we have a jalapeno. They did really well in the sun, and this spot is actually full sun. That's the reason why I took it over instead of just flowers. I said, well, we need to use all of the good solid space. So this is gonna be peppers, eggplant, Then I'm going to put some medicinal flowers in here as well. But I'm really excited about this space. I might have to put a fence up because, as you can see, Kimber likes to be in the garden. So she's not very good with the little baby seedlings. Some of my tomatoes, the daylilies last year when I had broccoli in here, I think it actually helped keep the bugs away because they did really well. And here is another bed. We have our rhubarb. This is the second year of rhubarb for this plant that was planted last year. And we have some onions. So they're going to be ready to be pulled up here shortly. I'm learning about onions. And these are our leeks. These are from February of 2020. So they are definitely ready to be harvested. I've gotten some already. And they came out really good. So I think I'm going to dig them up and I'm going to cut them and dehydrate some and cook with them. I have a good recipe for doing cabbage and leeks with a little bit of heavy cream. I'll saute some bacon in there. Maybe I'll put the recipe in there so you can see. I used to cook professionally, and I got the recipe when I was cooking in Switzerland. It's quite tasty. Everybody in the house loves it. So I'll attach that along. Over here, I have a new bed that I made this year. I'll link. There's a gentleman, I forget his name. He's a great English gardener, and he does no dig. So I'm trying this method out. I started with newspaper on the bottom. So I started this last year. If you look at my video in August, you can see that it was already down. I was planning to fence in this whole section of the yard, but then we chose not to. But we have a 5'5" bed here, and I thought it might be better to leave some space so I could work around this bed over here so that I can access it. So this space in the middle is actually empty, but this bed had some newspaper and pine needles on it, and then I put fresh newspaper and cardboard. And then all the soil is my compost that's been in my compost pile for the last few years. So that's why you can still see eggshells and newspaper. But I then planted some red and white potatoes. So the white potatoes are over on this side where you don't see anything, and the red potatoes are over here. The red potatoes were from starts. The white potatoes were just something I had left that was going to sprout in my pantry. So, and what I've heard is it won't work if you use something if it's not organic, and these were just regular potatoes off the shelf. So it was just kind of an experiment to see if it was going to work or not. My red potato seedlings that they're doing really well. Now you're supposed to start them after all chance of frost is gone. I started them a week or so early, and we did get a little bit of cold, not frost, but I was a little bit concerned whether they're going to make it or not. I'm expanding this bed, and there was another guy that showed how he turns compost in a week. So I need to this is just, we mowed the yard yesterday, and we had all kinds of cleanup because it was the first mowing of the year. And so I have leaves and grass and all kinds of bits and pieces in there. So what I need to do is get a tarp and cover it. And you go out, you wet it, and you cover it with a tarp. And every day you turn it. And then within a week, it turns to compost so that you can use in the garden. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some water on it. Oh, and he also used some molasses water to help feed all the microbes in the soil. I need to put a little bit of compost in it, feed it, and cover it up with a tarp. And now I'm going to extend the garden out a little bit. So I'll have maybe potentially another 5-foot wide bed over here once that's all done. But I don't necessarily need it right now. I'll use it after. All right. Then over here in my 5'5" bed, I planted seedlings of cauliflower, and I have garlic and red onions. And then you can see this was potatoes early last year, and so some of them came back up. I had peas and turnips and green beans and radishes here in August, and they did really well. So I actually used some of the turnip root for Thanksgiving. I roasted it with some carrots and some onions and some other root vegetables, and it turned out really good. But I found out my family doesn't care for turnip greens. So my neighbor got a huge bushel, big basket of turnip greens for the fall. So it turned out really well. My radishes didn't do so well here, but it was in the fall. So I learned, they always say, only grow what you know you'll eat. So that is not going to be on our list to grow this year. I also learned that garlic needs to go in the ground for us because of our climate. We're here in zone 8. It needs to go into the ground in the fall. And I missed the window, but I could have still put it in. So garlic needs to go in the ground because it needs cold in order to form the individual cloves. So it should be interesting to see if it's gonna produce anything or what it's gonna look like. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna get any heads of cauliflower. I think that cauliflower and broccoli for me, I need to start my starts probably December or January and get them in the ground sooner. So I got them in the ground in February. And I think they might just have to be winter over process. I have some time. Oh, that flower smells so good. I have some time. So I think I might take the time. That's mother of time that I started from seed. So I think I'm going to take the time and actually plant it in the ground. I might plant it in the garden between the rows, like as the path. It's supposed to do really well. So here I have some onions, and all the way around. I have done some weeding, but not enough. And here's some thyme here. It's doing really well. You getting the bugs, Camber? Okay, come on, Camber. So that thyme is doing really well. The terracotta pot actually got broken. And so I just put it in the ground. Over here we have snapdragons, and I believe that's Dusty Miller. So I guess it just goes to show you that I need to tag my things so I don't forget what I get excited about. Okay, let's go on into the garden. I don't have my trusty cameraman with me today, so we shall see how this is going to turn out. All right, so the lettuce that we planted here was actually done from a seed tape, and so it did really, really well. I planted this in the fall, and so I've been slowly harvesting microgreens and then individual heads of lettuce. And so you can see these tall white flowers. That's actually arugula that's gone to seed. Come on in, Camber. She has learned how to look in the garden. She enjoys being in the garden these days. So this is what we have. And my family's not a huge fan of arugula either. I like it, but it's a little bit more bitter. And so like I said, we planted this in the fall. And this is that Russian kale, which is really yummy. My family loves kale. So we cut this up, and you can put a little oil, salt and pepper on it, and then put it in the oven and make kale chips. I've also read you can do the same thing and do and put it in the dehydrator. I just harvested a whole bundle. I'll show you in a little bit. So here, I'm trying to remember what we planted. I planted, I believe, I don't even know. I planted something here. I have it in my book, but I planted it a couple of months ago, so we'll see. Here's beets. These beets were planted with the beet tape, so the seed tape, and they did really well. Those were planted last year. And now, I don't know if you can see the carrots. There were carrots here too. So I have found that this bark mulch that I have does not do well in the garden bed. So I have since, after learning that, I have been pulling it out of the garden bed and using it more in my pathways because the little seeds are having a hard time pushing up through the mulch. So that's made me change how I'm doing things. I planted those sugar snap peas in the fall of last year, and I didn't think that they were going to come up. I just planted them to help put nitrogen back in the ground, and I have harvested so many. And over here, I have onions, and here's some more carrots. They didn't do so well this year, and I have some beets too. And some of my parsley. Parsley, you can harvest for 2 years. The second year, it goes to seed. So here's some more arugula that's gone to seed. And then these are some broccoli that I've planted. I'm gonna have to pull out some of my arugula, and then I've got some weeds in there. But that is some broccoli that I started for seedlings in the house. And here's some more. I don't know that they're gonna make it before it gets too warm, so we'll see. And these are sugar snap peas I started last year, and some more flowers. That's the flower and the orange flower. So in and amongst the arugula, I actually have still some lettuce from last year as well. And so I can harvest that. Where is it? Over here. But I've left, and there's some lettuce there too. I have left the arugula for the bees. I figured with all these flowers it'd give them something to eat. This is my bee balm, and it comes back every year, so I'm gonna leave that there. This whole area here, I bought some leeks, some new leeks. Camera, get out of here, come on. Camera remembers we did have visitors to the garden. So under the boards I have carrots, and on the end is Swiss chard. The bricks are actually marking my rows so that I know. I need to get some stakes out here so that I know what I'm growing. I have some radish right here. I have some radish, some leeks. I have my beets are in the ground. I have beets here and here, and my leeks in the middle, and I have carrots. So those are kind of my root vegetables. And this is still empty. I couldn't remember where my other one is. So this is my lantana that was here last year. And I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go ahead and dig it up and move it, because it's really too big for the garden. So I might leave it because it brings a lot of, I might just leave it. I got to decide what I'm going to do with that one. Let me know what you think. Should I leave it or should I move it? Because I looked at all the space that I have in my yard, and I have now 750 square feet of garden space. So I could actually leave it or put it on the outside of the garden. So I'm still trying to decide what I'm going to do with that. I might dig it up and move it, but I guess I need to decide quickly before it gets too used to being there. So look at my beautiful calendula. So isn't that gorgeous? So excited. So this bed is going to be tomatoes. This is going to be my tomato bed. I'm going to leave the calendula and plant tomatoes in here as well. So you can see all this. This is actually my pea shoots, my pea that I've pulled up so I could make room for my carrots and my beets and my leeks. So in a minute, I'm going to turn that all into the ground and put the nitrogen back in the ground. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to harvest these calendula flowers. I'll leave some for the bees, but I'm going to harvest them and I dehydrate them so I can use them in tea. And also if you have scrapes and burns and all that, it's a great medicinal. Check your resources. I'll put a resource of what I use for my medicinal books. Great information. Okay, here I grew bok choy last fall, and these, they've gone to pod, and you can eat the pods. So that's like the baby bok choys. So let's see. And I have, that's spinach growing there underneath. So I need to probably pull the bok choy pods up. I don't know if I can pull the seeds out. I might have to see if I can save those. But they taste really good. Here I've got beets, and those are actually Chinese cabbage growing, and some of them have already gone to flower. I planted them, I started them in the house and planted them. And like I said, some of your brassicas, we just get so warm so quickly. Last week we already had days in the 80s. So I don't know. Actually, I think these are mustard greens, and there is some spinach. So we're just gonna have to see how much we can get out before they go to seed. And we have, let's see what we got over here. So we have arugula and some parsley. You can tell it's getting ready to go to seed right there. That's okay, because the butterflies love parsley. So I had celery growing in this bed, and they did really good, but they didn't grow as big as I, thought they would, or definitely not as big as they would in the store. Now this over here is chard. It looks a lot like spinach. It's in the spinach family, and for us, they grow really well. So this I started in the fall, and I have been harvesting it, and it cooks like spinach. You can, when they're little, you can just put it in your salads. I've been putting it in my lunchbox with a little bit of butter, salt, and pepper, and then when I get to work, I just pop it in the microwave, and that's something that I eat. So that saves me some money for the grocery bill of buying a big container of lettuce. Plus, I'm sure it's high in vitamin A and C, which is, what you need in your greens. They always say I eat more greens. So that works really well. And my husband and my children, my boys, will eat it. So turnip greens, collard greens, they're not big fans of, but they'll eat Swiss chard, and kale. So over here we have some more arugula. That was good. And this is lemon balm. And this is a mint cousin. So you can see how big that the lemon balm has gotten to. So I have actually harvested quite a bit, and I think I'm going to harvest some more. That might actually need to be removed from the garden and go somewhere outside because it's getting huge. So I have right here in the back, let me see if I can step in there. You can see that is 4-year-old asparagus sending up shoots, and I just harvested some yesterday. These two have already gone to seed. They go so quickly that sometimes they get up there before you can even see that they're ready to harvest. These little ones in front, I planted 4 new asparagus. So I have one here. It's like a fern. It's so pretty, like fennel almost. So I have 4 new ones. So you don't want to harvest those for the first 3 years, and then they'll grow and get stronger. Look at all of the weeding that needs to happen. Even though we get really hot, these are some pansies that I planted, I think last September, and they're still going. Pansies are great because they go through the snow. They had a little bit of frost on them. We didn't get snow this year. We almost never do. But here's some strawberries too that I just planted. Once again, need to get in here and get this all weeded out. My husband was just on the roof blowing everything out of the gutter, so we have pine needles everywhere. And here's another strawberry. So we'll just have to get in here and tackle this bed. But even my irises are looking good so far. And that's a sage. I would guess that it's a cherry tomato, but we'll just have to wait and see what it's going to be. And then some more pansies, and this is some lettuce, and I planted this last fall, and so it's now coming to seed. It's now coming up, rather. And then it's with some lavender, and then my lavender was looking like dry sticks, and you can see the new growth on it, so I'm very excited to see that. And this is a tomato plant that we just picked up from Home Depot. My husband was very excited, wanted to see how quickly we could get tomatoes growing. So that one is a Husky Cherry Red. I have some more in the house in seedling right now that'll go out in a few weeks. And then this, I'm curious to see if these are weeds. You see those little green? I don't know if you can see them or not. But this is where my lemongrass was last year, and I'm not sure if that's weed seeds or if it's gonna come back. Now, I did cover it with a lot of leaves and pine needles. This is my debris pile. That's not anything growing there. So we'll just see if it's gonna come back or not. Got my fingers crossed, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't come back. Here we have an onion, And here's more of that fennel. So now that I found that my fennel can grow well over with my echinacea, that's where it's gonna go. And we have some strawberries, and I think my strawberries are gonna go in one of my raised beds. And then there's some strawberries, and we have also our asparagus over there. So those strawberries are gonna stay there. More strawberries, and this is lemon balm and thyme. And they're just both very happy. I'm keeping the lemon balm and the lemongrass near the back porch because it's supposed to help with the mosquitoes. Here's another lemon balm, and here's some more strawberries. I have a leak on my hose, so I put my bucket there to kind of use that water. Now over here, next to the pool pump, we had tomatoes. And then in the fall, I got these kale from Home Depot, and they have done awesome. The tomatoes did really well here as well. Kimber and I came out here yesterday, and we harvested a whole bucket of kale that I gotta wash up, and I'm going to probably dehydrate it. I'm gonna try the oil, salt, and pepper and put it in the dehydrator to make chips. And I might do some in the dehydrator and some in the oven. My family just loves the chips. And back there, I actually have a rhubarb plant, and there's a strawberry here or there, somewhere in here. Oh, there it is. Well, that's it for today. I hope to show you some more soon. Thanks for coming along, and if you like it, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. That way you can see all kinds of different things when I add some more gardening tips and hints and just show you around the yard. My husband also likes to add in all kinds of stuff. He is a mechanic, so he puts on all kinds of interesting stuff. Alrighty, we'll see you next time.